good afternoon, all. As we prepare for the closing this evening, we would just like to ask those of you sitting in the back to kindly come forward, and those of you in the middle, just bring it a bit tighter. So if you can please just come forward as we prepare for our closing just in a few minutes. Stand by. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, as we draw near to the official closing of this fantastic forum for 2023. At this time, we will proceed on with the reading of the communique by Ms. Elizabeth Ann Harper, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Cooperative Republic of Guyana.
Good afternoon. His Excellency President Benedict Turama, President and Board of Directors, President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of Afreximbank, Honorable Hugh Todd, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Dr. the Honorable Ashley Singh, Senior Minister in the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen of the media. I will now read the joint communique of the second Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum that was held in Georgetown over the last 2 days. We, African Export-Import Bank, in partnership with the government of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana and in collaboration with the African Union Commission, the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, the Africa Business Council, the CARICOM Development Fund, the Caribbean Community Secretariat, the CARICOM Private Sector Organization, the International Trade Center, and the African Union Development Agency organized the second Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum 2023 from the 30th to the 31st of October 2023 in Georgetown, Guyana. Having deliberated on the theme, Creating a Shared Prosperous Future, acknowledging the decision of the Assembly of the Heads of State of the African Union to designate the African diaspora as Africa's sixth region and as a substantive entity contributing to the economic and social development of the continent. Having regard to the decisions of the September 2022 meeting of African and Caribbean heads of state and government, and the deliberations of the inaugural Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, aware of the cultural and economic ties and benefits of an integrated African-Caribbean economy towards driving industrialization and development, cognizant that the changing geopolitical landscape requires closer collaboration between Africa and the Caribbean to drive economic growth and development, mindful that fostering economic and social transformation in Africa and the Caribbean will require establishment of air and sea links and substantial financial and non-financial resources, recognizing that economic diversification through an inclusive and sustainable development agenda that builds upon Africa's and the Caribbean's resource potential is a dynamic tool for poverty eradication, economic resilience, and structural transformation, hereby commit to the upgrading and diversification of our economy's productive capacities through boosting of trade and investments between Africa and the Caribbean, as well as easing constraints to trade finance, trade services, logistics, and trade payments between the two regions. Request the African Union, CARICOM, the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, and other relevant stakeholders to formalize African-Caribbean political relations to advance economic cooperation and bilateral trade and investment, and explore an Africa-Caribbean free trade area to enhance market access and trade. undertake to work with partners including the African Business Council, the CARICOM Private Sector Organization, and the International Trade Center to operationalize the Africa-Caribbean Business Council as a platform to enhance private sector collaboration. Welcome the deals generated at the forum and the commitment by African and Caribbean businesses to invest in various sectors that include energy, tourism, construction, aquaculture, agriculture, logistics, creative and cultural industries. Encourage other Caribbean states to sign and expeditiously ratify the partnership agreement with Afreximbank and become partner countries as a means to enhance bilateral economic cooperation and unlock financing from Afreximbank to boost Afro-Caribbean trade and investment. Acknowledge the transportation challenge, which constrains trade, investment, and growth among the member states of CARICOM and between CARICOM and the Africa Union member states, and the need for urgent private sector-led interventions to unlock the immense growth and development potential. Commit the support of CARICOM heads of government in collaboration with the Afreximbank to priority actions and projects to be led by the CARICOM Private Sector Organization under the auspices of the Afri-Caribbean Business Council, including the identification of competent private sector entities to spearhead critical components of this intra- and inter-regional transport bridge. Urge collaborating partners, in particular development finance institutions in the regions, to fast-track the development of financing products and deployment of resources to support the growth of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. Applaud the decision by the Association of Caribbean Central Banks to pilot a regional payment platform with the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System to support payments and settlements across the two regions. Commit to support and collaborate towards the convening of the Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum 2024 as a platform to enhance trade and investment and the mutual prosperity of Africa and the Caribbean. Vote of thanks. We thank the over 1,398 participants that attended from 33 African countries and 13 Caribbean countries, as well as representatives from 18 countries outside of our regions, for their participation and contribution to the success of the forum. We also thank the government and people of Guyana for the warm hospitality and courtesies that ensured the success of the Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum 2023. Finally, we extend our gratitude to the 11 heads of state and their representatives, heads of international organizations and other delegations, Afreximbank, the Office of the President of Guyana, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Guyana, Go Invest, Guyana Tourism Authority, and other government departments in Guyana and their partners for successfully convening the second Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum 2023. Adopted on this 31st day of October 2023 in Georgetown, Guyana. I thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Harper. As we move gently along, we will now have our closing statement and vote of thanks. And delivering such, Okechukwu Ayadrika, who is the Acting Chief Operating Officer, Caribbean Office of Afrexim Bank.
His Excellency President Benedict Orama, President and Chairman of Board of Afro-Exim Bank, Honorable Ministers, representatives of government, all other protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen. As the curtain draws on the second edition of the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, I feel honored and privileged to stand before you today to propose a vote of thanks on this momentous occasion, which shall be remembered as a day of consolidation of the gains of the very first ACTIF held in Barbados last year. And of course, the redefinition of a promising future ahead for the African and Caribbean relationship. It has been a very busy couple of days, as we can all see, that even the man on the street will feel that something big is happening around. And it is not as if it's a musical carnival that is happening or a sports event that is happening, but of course, it is a people, business people coming in together to discuss a future for themselves. I recall with pride the unforgettable moment when we had to welcome the Ethiopian airline flight bringing in delegates from Africa. It's a momentous occasion for me, and I think it is a way of rewriting that history where some people centuries ago were coerced and forced into the boat to come here. So needless to emphasize that, of course, now the future is in our hand and we're actually taking charge of our destiny. We stand in awe of the collective wisdom, insights, and innovative ideas that we have exchanged over the course of these past 2 days. The forum has been a beacon of collaboration and partnership, living up to the projected standard of fostering a platform where vibrant discussions, invaluable networking, and tangible solutions have emerged. One of the things that stand out very clearly for me, and I think everyone agrees, is that indeed it is time for Africa and the Caribbean dream. Permit me, first of all, to reflect on the gains of the very first ACTIF event. Who would have believed that within 1 year of the first ever ACTIF, that we have actually recorded tangible and commendable progress towards the deepening of the African and Caribbean relationship. Thanks to the visionary leadership of President Benedict Orama and the Afro-Exim Bank team, and the unwavering support of the host Prime Minister, Mia Amor Motley, and the heads of government in the CARICOM region, we have today established the Afro-Exim Bank Caribbean office, so which is more like a landmark to show that indeed all the discussions that we've been having can actually turn to reality. It therefore goes without saying that if we can achieve this much within such a short time, that we are talking about setting up a branch of a bank and signing up deals already, then you can imagine what we will achieve if this level of enthusiasm, the conversations, are sustained over a period of time. And of course, that would tie to the very theme of this particular event. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to begin my vote of thanks by thanking our host and one of the key champions, President Mohamed Ifan Ali, and the government and people of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. You have showered us with very generous hospitality. and we cannot thank you enough. And I'm positive that with the positive inversion of your territory within these past few days, we're going to witness a new chapter where willing investors from Africa and the Caribbean see more opportunities flowing. I also want to thank the organizers of this glamorous event. The event of this magnitude wouldn't happen without the hard work and dedication that has gone in. To President Benedict Orama and the Afrasian team, I would say that you are leading by example, showcasing the way that indeed an African institution can set up in the Caribbean, and this also should encourage the Caribbean businesses also to see opportunities to invest in Africa. We applaud your institution for dedicating $1.5 billion, which ultimately will rise up to about $3 billion towards supporting this very noble venture. My sincere gratitude also goes to the heads of state who graced this event. Prime Minister Mia Motley of Barbados, who is my very generous host. Prime Minister Philip Joseph Pierre of St. Lucia. Ministers and senior government officials representing the heads of state. Heads of delegations for international organizations, African and Caribbean development institutions who are present. We thank the CARICOM Commission and African Union, under whose auspices our countries are pursuing the integration drive for prosperity of our people. We thank you for defining the tremendous opportunities ahead of our two regions and your guidance on the areas to look forward to boost trade and investment flows between the two regions. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also take this moment to thank our sponsors who made this event possible. Please allow me to give special recognition to Owando PLC Nigeria, Invest Barbados, and Export Barbados for their remarkable support. To our esteemed partners, the African Union Commission, AFCFTA, African Business Council, the CARICOM Commission, Caribbean Export Development Agency, the International Trade Center, and the AU, African Union Development Agency, AU NEPAD. I say a very big thank you for your unrelenting support. I will not end this session without acknowledging and thanking all of you in a special way. Our bold businessmen and women whose courage to engage and agree on business transactions and establish new market opportunities is the great foundation on which this event stands. I may go on and on thanking, but allow me also to recognize specially the speakers, the panelists, the directors of ceremonies, the moderators. Words are certainly not enough to express our gratitude for the roles you have played. To the organizing committee, both from Afrasian Bank and the government of Guyana side, special recognition to P.S. Harper, Ambassador Evelyn, for your unrelenting effort. These efforts will not go unnoticed, and I believe you will take pride in the glamour and resounding success that we have seen out of this very important event. I want to also thank the gentlemen of the press, the ushers, and those who are involved in the logistics, and those who played one key role or the other to make this event a huge success. I say thank you to you all. On a final parting note, I want to say that as we live here today, the main next point and the agenda is action. So we need to put into action a lot of the other talks that we have had today. And this is the only way that we will be able to realize the huge value that is here in this event that we have done today. I can actually see the action happening already. For instance, I know yesterday, President Ali and Prime Minister Motley, they tasked people to find a solution to the air and maritime challenges. And I know today conversations have already started. And who knows, very soon we may actually have a Black Star shipping and maritime service project come into existence. So I think that's an example of what we need to do. So we've come, we've seen, and it's time for us to go out and conquer. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Mr. Ayodrika. At this time, we move into the press conference aspect, and I'd like to invite to the stage Dr. Ashni Singh, Minister of Finance, Guyana, and Professor Benedict Orama, President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of Afrexim Bank. And facilitating the press conference will be Anne Ize, Director of Communication and Events at Afrexim Bank.
Thank you very much, Crispin, and thank you, Okechukwu, for those really warm and detailed thank you notes. Let me add my thanks to our media friends who have come from far and wide to spend this last 2 days with us. It's been, I hope it's just been as rewarding for you as it has been for us. Before we dive into the press conference, or what I prefer to call a time with our media friends, a few housekeeping rules. We will have a couple of questions that our media partners have sent in, and then we will open up to the audience. We have roving mics in the room, so just indicate, and when you're called upon, just say your name, your publication, and your country, and we will take your question, and our speakers will respond. Honorable Minister, President, in the room today, you have up to 70 media practitioners from international, regional, Africa, and local. And they have all come together today to hear a bit more about ACTIF. So I'll just dive right in. First question, I think, is one that is on everyone's minds, Honorable Minister. It is, post-ACTIF, what will be the anticipated impact of the Africa-CARICOM relationship, particularly in terms of tourism, and most especially in terms of direct flights, transport links, relationship with airlines, and visa facilitation, amongst others?
Should I use this mic? Yeah. So thank you very much, first of all, for arranging this press conference. And Mr. President, it's a great privilege to join you at this press conference. Let me, because this is the first question that I'm addressing, take advantage of this opportunity to say what a great privilege it has been for us in Guyana. And I say this on behalf of my own president, President Irfan Ali, and our cabinet and the government and people of Guyana. Let me say what a great privilege it has been for Guyana to be hosts of this extremely important regional and transcontinental event. We have seen the participation of almost 1,500 persons. I'm told from, I believe it was 33 countries, I was told. We've seen nearly 30 companies participating in the exhibition. We have had a series of panel discussions right here in this room, addressing a number of the most pressing policy issues that are involved in the promotion of more investment and trade between Africa and the Caribbean, and the promotion of closer economic and commercial ties. And so, by any measure, Mr. President, I would say that ACTIF 2023 has been a resounding success. And I want to compliment you and your team for arranging this event, and thank you for giving Guyana the opportunity to be hosts of 2023 ACTIF. More specifically, in relation to the question that was asked, for a very long time, the special relationship between Africa and the Caribbean has been recognized and spoken of. And it's a very obvious relationship that is rooted first and foremost in our people. And the fact that we have such a strong, binding, historic relationship between the two continents, grounded in people. And the fact that so many of our Caribbean brothers and sisters owe their ancestral origins to the African continent. And so the special nature, the special and deeply profound nature of the relationship between Africa and the Caribbean cannot be overemphasized. And indeed, words are inadequate to fully capture the depth and profundity of this relationship. But in today's world, we feel, and certainly we feel in the Caribbean and in particular in Guyana, that over and beyond the historic and the emotional ties, it is imperative on us to expand this relationship and to indeed to build on the historic and emotional ties that we have. And in particular, explore opportunities for economic and social advancement on the foundation of closer economic trade and commercial ties. And so ACTIF provided an excellent opportunity to do just this. And when Afreximbank initiated the engagement with the Caribbean, and in this regard I must acknowledge the role played by Prime Minister Motley in the earliest days of this relationship. When Afreximbank came to the Caribbean and launched the agreement that would see so many Caribbean states, including Guyana, join as a partner country with the bank, the foundation was laid for these closer economic and commercial ties to be explored. And we saw over the course of the last 2 days a number of avenues through which, a number of concrete avenues and opportunities through which closer economic and commercial ties can be explored, will be explored, and have already been initiated. And this has happened at a number of levels. It's happened at the governmental level. We saw, for example, the signing of an agreement with the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. We heard of initiatives aimed at agreements that are either at the point of conclusion or are ripe for conclusion with other countries like Barbados. We heard in particular the initiatives being supported in the area of sports tourism. We heard of the agreements and understandings reached between the bank and Guyana in relation to support for infrastructure. And those are only on the official side, the discussions that took place between the countries of the Caribbean, the governments of the Caribbean, and Afreximbank. Beyond those governmental engagements, there were, of course, business-to-business engagements. And a number of the businesses that are visiting from Africa and elsewhere in the world had an opportunity to discover economic opportunities in the Caribbean and in Guyana, and to engage with their counterparts, and indeed to initiate potential transactions. And I say this really to make the point that irrespective of the sector at which we look at, the question related particularly to tourism, but the same can literally be said for agriculture, food security, tourism, manufacturing, literally any sector of economic endeavor and productive activity. The same can be said, because the past 2 days provided an incomparable platform for initiating of contacts and ties between Africa and the Caribbean, and initiating even of specific transactions. Some of the government initiatives are specifically related to tourism. So for example, the sustainable tourism projects that are being done, and in particular the sports tourism project with Barbados, that's specific to tourism. But there were a number of other engagements that ultimately will lead to opportunities that will potentially redound to the benefit of the tourism industry. And of course, tourism is extremely important to the Caribbean. Now, in relation to visa and freer travel, let me say that we in the Caribbean, like I said, tourism is extremely important to us, and indeed freer movement of people more broadly, whether for tourism or other economic and commercial purposes. We are committed to a global regime that sees freer and more open travel. And so we're open in Guyana, as all of our brothers and sisters across the Caribbean are. We're open to having discussions with our counterparts in the respective capitals in Africa on more and freer and easier movement of people. In relation to the airline links, this I know is a big bugbear, because right now for most of us who are traveling between Africa and the Caribbean, we have to go up north and come back down. I think many people went to, certainly if you're traveling commercial, you have to go to Europe, London, or New York, and then come back down south. So this really is a big issue. And it's an issue, I can tell you, that featured very significantly during the course of the past 2 days, even if not on this stage, and I think it did feature on this stage, it certainly featured off of the stage. And so I can tell you that with greater awareness and visibility of the economic potential between Africa and Caribbean, I think the case for closer air travel links, for more effective air travel links, will make itself. And I know that a number, of course, President Ali spoke about the importance of travel and movement, closer travel, better travel infrastructure, movement of goods and movement of people. And I know that a number of conversations have been initiated about how that can be translated into actual introduction of services, whether by airlines or shipping companies, to see improved connectivity of people, improved connectivity for movement of people and of goods. I hope I answered all of the parts of your question.
Absolutely, Minister. Thank you so much. As you can tell, I think many people are encouraged by the response and looking forward to even more engagement and collaboration and action. Dear President, I think the next one is for you, and it's also on the minds of many of our media friends. It is, this is the second edition of the Africa-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, second successful edition, I must add. I think, taking stock of the past year, how has the presence of Afreximbank impacted CARICOM? How will it benefit Africa? And more especially, what are the new targets as you aspire for the next edition of the forum?
No, thank you very much. Let me also recognize the ministers and the distinguished officials and business people here. I must also reiterate thanks to His Excellency President Ali, his government, and the people of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana for a most wonderful few days we spent here. All the hospitality, all the arrangements that have been made to make our stay here very, very enjoyable, to make this event the success that we've seen it to be. I think this is the second ACTIF, and it's very important because it solidifies the work we are doing to promote the Africa-Caribbean trade and investment relations. If this edition was not successful, the work done to even start last year would have been for nothing. So we thank you for making it a success and look forward really to even more successes in the future. I don't think there is any going back. It's now forward ever, backward never. So since the past 1 year, we have really, I would say, kept our promises to one another. The CARICOM countries have kept their promises in terms of advancing the shared agenda we all identify with. Is